Everyone. My Steel Fortress video actually did a lot better than I was expecting, so I figured I'd do more in-depth guides on totally free-to-play teams, not using stuff like Lushens and things like that for the new dungeons, so that way newer players can start farming them earlier on. But in this case, I'm going to be doing GB12, which some people have been struggling with, saying that their old teams aren't working and things like that. This is going to be one that's focused mostly for people starting off the game, or maybe they've been playing a few months or even a year, but they just haven't been farming heavily enough, and now they're more motivated for it. So what I did was I purposely put a lapis on pretty bad runes. They're similar to the ones that you get from, like, if you've been playing a long time, you got the Vamp Lord and it came with those runes. But these are really obtainable stats, let's be honest here. It's going to be speed, crit damage, attack. Yes, there are grinds on mine, but at the same time, these stats are absolutely awful. So those grinds really don't do much, like the defense and flat HP and stuff. It is skilled up. You actually don't need him skilled up for what I'm doing. He's just been skilled up because I've had him a long time. The accuracy is low, so is the crit rate, so it's not like it's going to be hard to obtain stats. Sigmaris, I actually put him on a Despair Blade set. You don't need him on Despair Blade. Obviously, you can get the stats I have with a Fatal Blade or a basic Rage Blade set, which you can get from clearing NB10 for the first time, which I'll be going over later anyway on another video. But I kind of put him on this kind of set because it's also something people could use for TOA and things like that, which I'm going to be doing videos on later on. As you can see, he's not very optimally ruined as far as the accuracy goes, but pretty decent crit rate, crit damage, and attack. You don't need to get these high stats. I'm going to tell you right now, this will just speed it up. But there's only one unit you really need to focus a lot on, which is going to be Crow. My stats are decently high for crit rate and crit damage, but his attack is mediocre, not skilled up or anything like that. So these may seem like stats that are a bit hard to get to, but don't worry, yet again, you can start off with lower stats. I'm not saying start off with like 130 crit damage, but I actually did help someone who had that low stats and they were able to complete GB12 too. It just wasn't 100% consistent. My Fran is on a PvP build. You don't need her this fast. If you get her to Violent at about plus 100 speed, you're fine. Just make her tanky. Same with my Lauren. It's extremely fast and high accuracy. Obviously, you don't need 100% accuracy, and you don't need this kind of speed. For her, if you could get her on another plus 100 violent set or around there, or even a plus 80-ish violent set, you'll do fine. If you put her on Swift, you want her at like plus 130, but I don't really know how many newer players are going to be able to do that. This is just because I don't want to switch around runes, but this also messes up my turnover because my Lauren is more likely to die since she's going to lap everything else. So this actually will make it harder for Lauren to survive with the stats that I have on her. So even though some of my stats may seem like, oh, how is this going to help newer players? Like I've explained, you can easily drop the stats much lower than this and be fine. Mine are actually going to hurt me in these runs because my less tanky unit like Lauren is just going to get shredded by the boss. Now, the reason I did Lapis here is because it's a monster you get very early on in the game, and you can actually use it in DB12, GB12, and TOA. The thing is, you can obviously use much better units because there are a lot of multi-hits here, but I wanted to make sure I went with a team that everyone could easily obtain honestly, within 2 weeks. If you grind hard for SIG, the rest of the units there, the point is, by about a month in, you should easily have this team, no problem, no matter how casual you are at the game, to be honest. As you can see, it's doing quite well. The only time, if you have really low stats and you try to break into here, the only time you should really fail is if your Fran doesn't get off her immunity and your whole team just gets like perma frozen. But I mean, that should be something pretty easy to fix. You just make her a bit faster to make sure she goes before the mid boss. Not really a problem there. The reason why this team works well is because of the attack bar manipulation. I can guarantee at least 1 to 2 of your units will die on the boss stage because of the multi-hits. Don't worry about that. The point is to let your Sigmaris and your Crow get 1 or 2 hits off before stuff starts dying, because by then it's too late. The boss can't beat you. I do the multi-hits with all this attack bar reduction because that prevents him from doing his swipe, which would almost surely kill an earlier game nuking Crow or Sigmaris. I've ran this team about 50 to 60 times. It failed once. That was it. So let's say you only have like half the stats I do, okay? You're still only going to fail it maybe 3 times out of 50, which even then it's like 95%, which is a pretty good starter team. But for the most part, you should do quite well with this team. If you switch in Lapis for something like Lushen because you got lucky or you're a bit later game, you can cut down the time by a lot because as you see up there, that minute time was actually just with switching in a Lushen. There are other options for teams that'll speed it up, but I feel like this is probably the best, most obtainable one early game. If you guys have any questions or if you're interested in seeing more videos about my teams for the new stuff, feel free to give me a comment, letting me know what you thought of the video. I plan on editing more, obviously, so you don't hear all of my mistakes, like me stumbling over words sometimes. But I just wanted to get these out so that way, when people are searching for them, they have somewhere to look for very obtainable teams. Since a lot of the YouTubers and stuff are probably going to be using stuff with crazy runes and things like that. I just wanted to make sure there were options out there for you newer guys. Thank you, and have a good day, guys.